I'm Brian Murphy. Welcome back to another edition of Triangle and Two with Bryn Renner, former UNC quarterback, joining us after an ACC win, a big win for Bill Belichick's team. First ACC win, first win over a power conference team, and the first time, even more than the Charlotte game, I think the first time that Carolina's really looked dominant in a win. We could talk about some of the reasons for that with Syracuse as well, but you were there at Syracuse. Your overall take, Halloween night. Carolina, started the game with a fumble again. Looked like here we go again, but they were able to find a way to take care of business this time.
Yeah, I think it was a statement win for the team this year. I really do. I think, everyone knows the last 2 weeks have been, tough and losses by inches. But I think this week was a statement win for the players and coaches. And honestly, the first half, we could have scored more points. And then you get to halftime and, Syracuse is up 10-6. And you're like, wow, this is, kind of the same microcosm. But the second half was when Carolina really took it to another level. Defense played outstanding, I thought, and really all three phases performed extremely well in the second half. And you saw that on display. They were three for three on possessions and scoring touchdowns and really put the game away. So I think it was a statement win for Carolina this weekend.
Yeah, I thought coming out of down 10-6, I think I posted on social media, like, there's just no, you've got to have this game against the team playing a true freshman walk-on quarterback who didn't complete a pass in the first half, I don't think, or 1 of 11. You just had to have it. And they came out and ran a little screen pass to Damon June. He takes it all the way, 72 yards for a touchdown. And the announcer said something interesting, I thought. They said, not a team that likes to run a lot of screen plays, but they saw something in Syracuse's defense that indicated they might have to run some screens. And to come right out of halftime and run that play and get the result, I felt was like a very good adjustment by the coaching staff.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest play of the game, obviously. The first play out of half, you got the ball, your possession, and get an explosive play. Brian, we've been looking for those all year. And Damon June had 182 yards all purpose. And that was really a momentum swing because he broke 2 tackles and really set the tone. And I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks. I thought the offensive line blocked extremely well in space on the screenplay. A lot of bodies were on the ground, and that's what you want to do on screens. And the offense as a whole needed that. I think that was a big momentum boost that really propelled the team that, hey, we can score, especially on the first play, and it really swung the entire momentum of the game.
Syracuse had one of the worst run defenses in the ACC coming in, and it took a little while, but eventually Carolina just sort of imposed their will in the run game, which you like to see against an overmatched opponent. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the running game has been critical for the progress of this offense. I think it's what Coach Belichick wants to do, and we've talked about this all the time. I think if you could limit Geo to being, just a play action pass and be methodical and be completion driven. I mean, he was 15 of 19 on the day, had an extremely efficient passer rating. He looked like it was a guy that was more confident because the running game was so successful. So I think if you look at the type of runs that they were hitting on, it was more of counter plays, which are two guys pulling gap scheme type runs. And before we were running a lot of outside zone and zone type concepts. I think we've found our niche with the type of running game that we want to have to be successful because we're going to have to run the ball. And I think that's a credit to our defense as well. That's the holistic approach that Coach Belichick wants is play really good defense, play man-to-man, play physical on the defensive side, run the football, protect the football, don't make mistakes, and we'll be in these ball games. And that's what you've seen for the last 3 games.
Yeah, the first half, obviously, you get down 4th and 1 at the goal line. Looks like you're going to go for it, get a false start penalty. That fumble early, you definitely got a sense of deja vu, but credit to the team, credit to the coaching staff. They were able to find a way out of that and really dominate the second half of that game. I wanted to talk about the defense. Melkart with another tremendous play, forcing that fumble late in the game. Just feels like this defense is playing with such great confidence. Again, Syracuse had a true freshman walk-on quarterback, better known as a lacrosse commit than a football player. But they took care of business, and the defense didn't give him any life.
Yeah, that was a critical play in the game and forcing that fumble. And really, he's had 5 sacks over the last 2 weeks, which is really incredible. That kid has a chance to play at the next level. He's coming off the ball, he's playing physical, and he's relentless in his pass rushes, which is incredible. But I think the defense is propelling the offense to get a little bit confidence, and that's what you saw. Defense gets the turnover, short field, offense scores in like two or three plays. And Jordan Shipp has a great touchdown catch on a crossing route. You're seeing a complementary style of football, especially versus Syracuse, and that's great. And they overcame some adversity that kind of harmed them in the past, which is the fumbles and the turnovers, and they got through that and pushed through. So, and if you look at the next slate of games, they're going to have to do that, coming down the stretch.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask about. The last 3 weeks, I think the confidence of not only the team, but which is hard to measure, but the fans around the
Hmm.
team. Everyone now you can talk maybe a bowl game here or there. 4 games left. You've got Stanford homecoming, and then the 3 in-state schools, Wake, State, and Duke. And obviously, State and Duke had great wins this weekend. Wake Forest, had kind of a letdown game this weekend. When you look at what's left, is 6-6 a reasonable conclusion for this team? And how important would it be in Belichick building this program to get to a bowl, get those extra practices, have a chance to really work?
Yeah, I think it is, Brian. I think it's something that there's a quote that I don't know who said it, but they remember what you do in November. And this is the critical time in football where everyone's hurt, everyone's injured. Guys are going to have to step into to different roles, and that is coming down for this team to get to a bowl game, kind of push through to the end. They're making strides to get better, and you're going to see it in the next 4 weeks. You got to win through the next four. And so if you look at the Stanford game, I think that's a winnable game. I think Wake Forest is going to be a toss-up. Playing at Wake. I think every team has the desire to go play a bowl game. So you're going to get everybody's best shot. State had a huge win this weekend over Georgia Tech, and they always play really good in November. And Duke got a huge win at Clemson. So you're going to have to make really good plays and execute really efficiently in the next 4 weeks. And the good thing is you don't leave the state of North Carolina, which is great.
We talk about it from the outside as a media member. Oh, bowl game, bowl eligibility, all that. You're a guy who's been in the locker room. What is it
Mhm.
like for players? I mean, is that a goal? When maybe your season hasn't gone the way you want, do people still want, hey, let's get to a bowl game. Let's at least get to a bowl game.
Absolutely. The biggest factor is you want to get there for the seniors because they've worked their tails off to have that opportunity, and you get 15 extra practices with your boys. And so I think that's the biggest thing is everyone wants to have success and go to a bowl game and kind of it's such a grind, Brian, the entire year. You work 12 months to play 12 games, and then you're like, okay, you get to the end and it's like, wow, it's November. I really got to push through, and you have a chance to win the next three of the last four to make a bowl game. So there's a lot of pressure, a lot of guys in the locker room that really want to go to the bowl game, go to a destination, be with your friends, and build that camaraderie. So it's a special time in college football, but you're going to see teams that haven't played necessarily that well throughout the season play better because they have that incentive of going to a bowl game.
And you think that's still out there? Obviously, I don't want to date you. You played a long
Yeah.
time. I don't want to say you played a long time ago, but in the way that college football's changed, it was a long time ago, given the
Mhm.
various incentive structures that are in place now. Is it as much of an incentive with all the opt-outs and everything we've seen, and the portal opening about that time as it was when you think you were a player?
Yeah, I think it definitely has changed, Brian, for sure. I think there's different goals that the teams are trying to achieve. Um, but I think as far as just the you always want to try to win. And I think there's still something to be said of going to a bowl game and being at a different site. It feels like, you're going to the Super Bowl. It just, for a college kid, it is the ultimate goal to play on, Christmas Eve or have one of those December bowl games. Cause, you don't want to just be sitting at home. It's just one of those lonely feelings. And I remember we won the ACC title in 2012, but got bowl banned and we couldn't go. And so we were supposed to play Florida State in the ACC title game, and we were all sitting at home. And I remember just being like, "This is defeating." It's like you didn't accomplish your goals. So definitely, I think there's different incentives now that the landscape of college football has changed. But you still want to try to get to a bowl game for sure.
I don't know how much you got to watch that state game or that Duke game, but two really impressive performances, especially I thought NC State, given everything they've gone through the last
Hmm.
couple of weeks, to play with a backup running back, a backup tight end, and or just run right through Georgia Tech. What does that game tell you? And the Duke game, to beat
Hmm.
Clemson on a 2-point conversion. Carolina had a 2-point conversion try to beat Virginia. Duke was able to execute on their try to beat Clemson. What does it tell you about those teams and what Carolina sort of has left?
Yeah, I was able to watch both games, and starting with this NC State game, that was the microcosm of what NC State football is. A tough physical team comes into their place. NC State's one of the hardest places to play, especially at night. And they really were the tougher and more physical team. And that's always been Dave Doran is we're going to out physical you. I thought CJ Bailey played extremely, extremely well. He threw the ball efficient, but his legs were dominant on getting first downs, especially in the second half to clinch the game. They're tough. They're a tough matchup this year because I think they played below average, to start the year, but they've really come on strong. I know they've had defensive coordinator had a terrible, tragic incident with his family, so I think that kind of caused some issues, and I think they're kind of playing with some resilience. And I know Dave Doran recently has been in the media about his job security. I think that also is kind of echoing out the locker room. Those guys are going to play hard for him. And then you look at Duke. I think that was an incredible win for them on the road to beat Clemson. And I know Clemson's a little bit down this year, but I thought the quarterback play from Duke has brought, and that was an incredible job by that kid. He was extremely accurate. He's made plays. He's been worth every penny that they're paying him over there. So he's done a really good job on kind of driving that team. And both those teams are tough now. They really are. They have top 10 wins. NC State's got a top 10 win, beating a top 10 opponent. Duke has had a resume of that all year. And there's going to be really good challenges for Carolina coming up.
Yeah, Darian Mensah, the quarterback at Duke, reportedly making $4 million this year and maybe $4 million next year. Been awesome. Been really, really good. I'll end with this one. For the first time in my career, I'm a Heisman voter.
Let's go. That's
trying
awesome.
to study it out there. Has there been a player or two that have stood out to you as kind of above everyone else? It's been a strange year. Arch Manning, some of the preseason guys have not lived up to it, but there have been terrific performances all over college football.
Yeah, it's been a really fun and entertaining year of parity in college football, right? Like you look at the SEC, it feels like you're watching the NFL. It's like division opponents. And then you look at the other conferences, and there's a guy, Ty Simpson has really kind of come on for me. He didn't play very well against Florida State, and then comes back against Alabama, extremely efficient, and has really been driving their ship. But this is going to come down, Brian, to guys that want to make plays in the playoffs. And I think we kind of need to extend the Heisman voting and kind of when we actually announce the Heisman, because guys come on and in critical times. Like you look at Scatterby last year, like he came on late and nobody knew about him. So there's different guys that are coming in college football. But if I had a vote right now, it'd probably be Ty Simpson right now.
Yeah, Ty Simpson, the Alabama quarterback's been terrific ever since that opening loss, and the CFP standings come out on Tuesday, so like we're going to finally get, I think, some definition. I've been really impressed with what Indiana's done all
Yes.
year, and then of course the wide receiver Smith and the quarterback Salen at Ohio State have been great as well. But I think it's a wide open race right now for the Heisman, kind of wide open for the national championship as well. I mean, I think if I were ranking, I'd have Indiana one just based on what they've done, but Ohio State certainly has been dominant. I think they've covered the spread in every single game. And then, yeah, the SEC meat grinder is going to produce somebody that's, capable, or probably two or three teams that are capable of winning the title.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's just one of those things where we're going to have to wait and see.
And in the ACC, I mean, that Georgia Tech's loss, all of a sudden Virginia's at the top of the standings, really jumbled up. Pitt is another team that's been playing terrific. So be interesting to see who even makes it to the ACC title game.
Yeah, that's going to be one that is going to come down to the end because you look at UVA and Georgia Tech both playing well, and it's interesting because there's not sides anymore. So you're throwing everybody together, and not everyone's playing each other. So I love the way that it's shaping up because the games are going to be so much fun to watch down the stretch.
He's Bryn Renner, former UNC quarterback, former NFL quarterback. I'm Brian Murphy with WRAL. Appreciate you listening, and we'll be back next week to talk about the homecoming game against Stanford. UNC takes on Stanford 4:30 on the CW, as well as all the action around the country and around the ACC. Thanks for joining us.